If I asked you whether you're doing well financially or not, how would you answer? Because for a lot of people, the answer comes down to one of three things: how much money they make, how much they have saved, or how they think they're doing compared to everyone else. Maybe your coworker just bought a house. Maybe your friend got a promotion or a bonus. Maybe someone you follow on social media seems to be on vacation every other month, and you're wondering how you could possibly afford doing what they're doing. It's signals like this that suddenly make you start to feel like you're behind. But after becoming a CFP professional, a certified financial planner, and starting to help people with their finances, I've realized that the people who are actually becoming financially successful often don't look all that different from everyone else. They're not always making the highest income. They're not always driving luxury cars or living in huge houses or wearing designer clothing every single day. What they do have are a lot of small habits and systems. Habits and systems that not only keep their finances stable, but this also translates into financial confidence and peace of mind. And those two things aren't always visible from the outside. So today, I want to share 12 signs you're probably much closer to financial freedom than you think. Hello and welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Lissa. I'm a certified financial planner, and every week I make videos that help you build wealth, gain confidence with money, and build your abundant mindset. So if that's your vibe, make sure you subscribe. So I organized these 12 signs into 4 different milestones because I don't think financial freedom is something you either have or you don't. I actually think it's something you build over time. We'll start with awareness because you can't improve what you aren't already paying attention to. Then we'll talk about stability, which is where your finances start to become more predictable. After that, we'll talk about signs of resilience, where if life happens or something happens to throw you off track, it doesn't completely knock you off course. It doesn't stop you from making progress. And finally, we'll end with the last bucket, which is confidence. Because to me, that is what financial freedom actually starts to feel like. Now, don't worry if you don't check every box today. The goal is not to score a perfect 12 out of 12, like, oh, I have all of these 12 signs. I mean, if you do, let me know in the comments because that's cool. But this video is simply to recognize the progress you've already made and maybe help you identify 1 or 2 areas that you'd like to work on next. It's rare that we look for these signs and associate them with financial progress, so that's what I want us to do today. Let's start with the first milestone, which is awareness. Before you can improve your finances, you have to understand them. You have to be paying attention to them. Think about it this way. If you wanted to improve your health and you wanted to run a marathon, you wouldn't start by running a marathon tomorrow. You'd probably come up with a plan. You'd start to pay attention to what you're eating. You'd start to do more recovery on your body. Money works the same way. If you want to get to a goal, you can't avoid the journey to get there. You have to start paying attention to all the little things in your plan that will lead you to that outcome. So sign number 1 that you're doing better than you think, and that is you know your numbers. Now, I don't mean you've memorized your net worth down to the penny, or that you know every single transaction that's been made in the last 90 days. I simply mean you have a pulse on your financial life. If I asked you roughly how much you earn, how much you spend, how much debt you have, and maybe whether or not your investments have generally gone up or down in the last year, you could probably answer these questions without completely guessing. This might not sound like a big accomplishment, but it actually is. A lot of us can probably think back to a time where we didn't track any of this. We just kind of worked, got paid, and hoped everything worked out okay. So if you know your numbers, that is a good sign, and that is absolutely something that means you're a step closer to financial freedom. Sign number 2, you've stopped prioritizing looking rich. Let me clarify what I mean, because I'm not judging people for buying nice things and having a very luxurious outward appearance. In fact, I like those types of luxuries sometimes. I don't think there's anything wrong with making upgrades. Maybe you have a nicer car, a nicer apartment than you did 5, 10 years ago. Maybe you buy things now that you used to dream about. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The thing I want to point out here is the sign that shows you are making progress towards financial freedom is not the purchases themselves. It's the why behind it. Why do you make these purchases? Are you prioritizing certain purchases because it's going to make you look a certain way so other people can perceive you in a very specific way? Or is it because you genuinely value something? It brings joy to your life. It brings value to your life. I think a great sign that you're moving in the right direction towards financial freedom is that you actually stop thinking about what other people think. You are not basing your purchases and spending your money because of what you want to look like for others. You're doing it because of what you want to look and feel like for yourself. I think it's very easy for us to associate nice things with money and assume that anyone who looks like they have all these nice things have a lot of money. But when you bake in an awareness around this, it helps you change your perspective. Rather than making that assumption, shifting to questioning why you even care is something that I think is important to do, because I would rather much feel financially secure than look financially successful, especially if I'm not, right? I would rather have a healthy emergency fund, growing investments, flexibility to make choices with how I spend my money. I would rather do all of those things than impress people and look a certain way because I want them to think of me in a certain light. It's human nature to care what other people think, but I think there's a shift you make as you start to work towards financial freedom where your focus is on yourself, how you feel, how you operate, how confident you are, and that can happen without other people's perceptions of you. It just makes other people's perceptions less of a priority. Sign number 3, you have a plan for your money. Having a plan is going to look different for everyone. For some people, it's a detailed budget, a spreadsheet that they check every other day. For others, a plan might be a simple spending plan. Maybe you use an app like I do. I use Monarch Money. Maybe you review your finances every payday. Maybe you and your partner have a money date every few weeks where you check in and make sure that you're not overspending in areas you don't want to be. The system itself isn't what's important. What's important is that your money has a purpose before you spend it. Sometimes it's even planning before you receive it. Not planning to buy things, but having systems in place that is going to direct that money where it needs to go. Checking account, savings account, investment account, bills, etc. If you are already planning where your money is going to go, that is a great sign that you are moving in the right direction. Just like that, we are moving on to milestone number 2, stability. Once you're aware of what's happening with your money, the next step is really creating more consistency. I think this is where people start to feel like they're actually making progress. And it's not because you become wealthy overnight all of a sudden. It's because your finances are organized and more predictable. So sign number 4 that you are moving towards financial freedom, you consistently spend less than you earn. I want to emphasize the word consistently because I don't mean every single week or every single month. There are going to be those months where you take a vacation or have to replace the tires on your car, or maybe you have an expensive holiday season or birthday month or an expensive home repair to deal with. These things are just life. What I mean is that over time, when there isn't a one-off going on, you have built a system strong enough where there's a gap between what comes in versus what goes out. Because that gap is what allows you to save money for later, to invest money, to grow long term. That gap is what allows you to pay down debt if you have any. And that gap allows you to prepare for the future, building in more cushions into your life and your lifestyle so that you can weather any storm that comes your way. I always say that yes, your income matters, like how much money you make, but your margin matters too, maybe matters even more, because anyone, whether you're making 40K a year or 400K a year, you can get financially ahead if you can find that margin to where you are consistently spending less than you make. Sign number 5, if you're an OG on my channel, you knew this was coming, but a sign that you're moving towards financial freedom that has to do with stability is that you are building an emergency fund, or you already have one. Give yourself credit, even if you don't have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved yet. If you are aiming towards a year of expenses saved and you don't have that yet, any amount matters. Maybe you've saved your first $200, your first $500, your first $2,000. All of that becomes a cushion, and not only is it there for you to use practically if an emergency comes up, but it should start giving you peace of mind. You are now optimizing your finances in a way where you're building a cushion so that you can have a foundation to move on to other financial goals later on. So for 2 seconds, forget about the number of how much you have saved up so far for this. I want you to just celebrate the fact that you know what an emergency fund is, you are building it or maybe built it fully, and you are creating a cushion for yourself so that you have a fallback plan. Your emergency fund won't prevent emergencies from happening, but it allows you to continue making progress on your finances long term, even when those annoying things in life happen that affect your finances. Sign number 6, your money has systems. You are closer to financial freedom than you think if your finances don't depend entirely on your motivation or remembering things. If you've built any system, any little bit of automation in your finances, that means you are one step closer to financial freedom. That could be your bills being on auto pay. That could be paying yourself first, part of your paycheck going automatically into a savings account or an investment account. Maybe you have recurring transfers. Maybe you have calendar reminders on your calendar about different due dates and money check-ins. Anything that can remove friction from your finances moving smoothly, and anything that takes effort away from you so that you don't have to remember doing all these things, any automation is going to help you with your financial life. And like I said earlier, consistency is a big part of improving your finances and reaching financial freedom. So this is kind of a part of that. If you can automate, that helps you be consistent. That is the beauty of a good system. It doesn't rely on you being motivated every day or you having to make a decision every day. Your systems are going to be set up so that your finances are going to be okay, even when you're busy, you're tired, you're stressed, and you just don't have the time. Moving on to milestone number 3, resilience. So we've talked about awareness and stability, but there are signs when it comes to your resilience that actually mean a lot in terms of moving towards financial freedom. Yes, life is going to happen. There will be unexpected expenses that come up. Yeah, you will still probably make mistakes. I do. We all do. We are going to have months where everything doesn't go according to plan. What we want is for those setbacks to not completely throw you off course anymore. Yes, they may hurt, but no, it's not going to stop you from continuing to make progress. Resilience means you can recover quickly, and that is a very clear sign that you are making financial progress. So sign number 7, unexpected expenses don't completely derail your life anymore. Now, I do not mean that an unexpected expense is fun or welcomed or enjoyable, right? Nobody wants to handle a car repair or pay a big unexpected medical bill or find out that they need to replace their water heater or an appliance in their home. None of these things are fun. They're all frustrating. But if you've been building the habits that we've talked about, spending less than you earn, saving for an emergency fund, being consistent with your finances, automating things, you'll probably start to notice a change in how you respond to these unexpected things. Instead of thinking like,
oh no, how am I going to get through this? There's no way I can possibly deal with this. This is the worst thing ever.
you're probably going to start moving more towards,
Ugh, that's annoying. Alright, this wasn't part of my plan, but at least I have a cushion. At least I know what to do next.
maybe you use your emergency fund. Maybe you know that you just need to adjust next month's spending plan. Maybe you just pause another financial goal for a little while you work back from this setback. So setbacks are inconvenient, but they're not going to completely derail your life. It's not the end of the world. To me, that is a clear sign of financial resilience, and it means you're moving in the right direction. Sign number 8. Your money mistakes are getting smaller. Notice I didn't say you're no longer going to make mistakes. We're human. Maybe you're perfect and you never will, but for most of us, we're still going to make money mistakes here and there. We might make bad financial decisions. The goal is not to be perfect with your money. The goal is to make less mistakes, to make better mistakes. Maybe a few years ago, your mistake was carrying thousands of dollars on a credit card debt. Maybe financing a car you couldn't afford or spending money you didn't have. Today, maybe your mistake is simply ordering something on Amazon that you didn't need or that you already have, and maybe forgetting to cancel a subscription for a few months. One of the biggest signs that you're growing financially isn't that you're going to stop making mistakes or stop optimizing for saving money and getting the most value out of your money. It's that your mistakes are just becoming less expensive and a lot easier to recover from. So much so that we might not even want to call them mistakes. Are they really mistakes? Sign number 9. One bad month does not become a bad year. What I mean by this is, again, not every month is going to go as we plan. That's just the nature of life. I know for me, I spend more during the holidays. I spend more the months that I have vacations. And then there's those times where I can't predict big emergency expenses. If this was me 10, 15 years ago, one of these things might end up hurting my finances for the next year. Maybe I overspend on one vacation and go wild, and then now I'm paying for it for the next 12 months. You can tell you're more resilient because you don't affect your future finances for as long if something happens, right? A good comparison is exercising. If you miss one workout, you're not going to lose all your progress overnight. You're not going to lose all of your muscle. You're not going to all of a sudden be out of shape again. Same if you miss 2 workouts. As long as you can motivate yourself to get back in it and to get back into your routine, you'll be able to bounce back very quickly. I think money works the same way. 1 month that doesn't go as planned or 1 month where you overspent, it's not going to erase the last few years of good financial habits. Your setbacks aren't going to mean that you failed. They're just setbacks that now you probably have even more tools and knowledge to navigate them. It's a good sign if when things happen to you, you know how to get back on track a lot sooner and a lot more efficiently. Finally, the last milestone, confidence. Financial freedom has its own definition. But I will say that when people want financial freedom, I think a big part of that is financial confidence. It's feeling good about your money and good about your financial plan, in the sense that you're no longer second guessing every decision you make with money. You start to trust that your plan is in motion and that it's going to work out okay. So sign number 10 that you are closer to financial freedom than you think. You compare yourself less. You stop comparing yourself to everyone else, figuring out if you're ahead or behind in life. The more you're confident in your own financial plan, it's not going to matter what your sister or brother or cousin or neighbors are doing. You're going to focus on your own life and lifestyle and gauge if it's where you want it to be. It's a great sign when you stop comparing your reality to a version of someone else's life that you don't even know if that's their real life, right? Like social media, things we see in the media, it kind of messes up our perception of what day-to-day people are actually like. At the end of the day, you don't know someone's income level. You don't know their debt. You don't know if they've inherited money, if they've received any help from family, or if they financed everything they have with a loan of some sort. We just don't know enough about people's financial situations that we have to learn to be financial confident with our own decisions and our own money moves. So if you're no longer comparing yourself to others and instead just comparing yourself to a previous version, a baseline, maybe compare yourself today from a year ago, that is what's going to actually tell you whether or not you're making progress, and that's where you build your confidence. Sign number 11, you trust yourself to make financial decisions. When you are first learning about money, sometimes financial decisions can get overwhelming. Should I invest now? Should I wait till next year? Should I pay off this debt first or that one? Can I afford this? Ugh, am I making the right decision to buy this thing? It's easy to feel like there's one perfect answer and you're so scared of getting it wrong. But over time, you'll start to learn and realize that personal finance is personal. As cliche as it is, that's the truth. There are oftentimes more than one option, more than one way to approach something. You'll learn how to make your own decisions, weigh the trade-offs, consider your own goals, and then make the decision that fits your situation. In fact, let me give a shout out to my podcast. It's on a hiatus right now, but if you haven't checked it out, check out Net Podcast. I'll drop the link in the description. Check out a few episodes because that's the whole premise. I have my opinions, so does my co-host, my best friend Liz, but at the end of the day, we want to empower you to make your own financial decisions and feel good about them. That's a great sign that you are moving towards financial freedom when you are confident in those decisions. Last but not least, sign number 12, you have more choices than you used to. I think this is what financial freedom is all about. You have more choices than you used to. I'll give an example. When I was super broke, I worked at a job, did not enjoy it that much, didn't get paid well, but I felt stuck. I felt like that was my only option. I had medical benefits. At least I had a job. At least I was getting a regular paycheck. Now, I know I'm moving closer to financial freedom because I've been without a job. I've gotten laid off and I've been okay. I have an emergency fund, a financial cushion, and I know that I'll be able to get by because I understand my cash flow. I understand how to make my money work for me in different ways. Now that's kind of like a bigger example of more options, but think about other things. It can be as small as buying a coffee. I remember when I used to buy the cheapest option because it's what I could afford. Now I have a little bit more disposable income. I can go to a coffee shop and I can order whatever I want. I can go to a restaurant and order whatever I want. You know, I'm not always going to buy that crazy $200 tomahawk steak unless I really want it and I've planned for it. But outside of that, the fact is that is an option now. I have more choices. You can apply this to so many aspects of your life. Just compare now to a time when you maybe didn't have as much disposable income. What are the choices that you have now available to you that you didn't have before? Chances are there's at least one thing, and that's a good sign that you are moving in the right direction. So, how many signs did you have? Whatever your number was, I hope that this video reminded you that financial freedom isn't something that suddenly happens overnight, and it's also sometimes not something that's obviously visible. Financial freedom and moving towards it is built through hundreds and thousands of ordinary, simple decisions that compound over time. So even if you don't feel like you're making progress, or if it feels slow at times, I want you to look out for some of these signs and remind yourself that you are making progress. I hope this video was helpful, and until next time, peace out.